When a modestly dressed man walks into a luxury clothing boutique in Beverly Hills, he is met with contempt. The young manager does not even realize that Keanu Reeves himself is standing in front of him. The manager mocks the guest's simple outfit and tries to kick him out. Keanu Reeves's remark will not leave anyone indifferent and will change your outlook on life forever. Friends, let us know in the comments under what conditions you watch this video. In the background, while working, or during lunch. Also, don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow another emotional story will be waiting for you. In the heart of Beverly Hills, amidst upscale restaurants and luxury boutiques, stood one of the most prestigious designer clothing stores. Its name was synonymous with opulence, and its clientele included famous actors, business tycoons, and global celebrities. Massive panoramic windows showcased an impeccably arranged display where mannequins gleamed in expensive suits. Inside, the soft sound of jazz played in the background, adding to the store's refined ambiance. Every detail in this boutique screamed status. Carved chandeliers adorned the ceilings, marble floors gleamed under soft lighting, and polished wooden tables displayed exclusive collections, from silk shirts to rare designer accessories. The air was filled with the scent of high-end perfumes, mingled with subtle notes of coffee from the VIP client lounge. This was not a place for casual shoppers. Here, people didn't just buy clothes, they bought status. The sales associates were trained to cater exclusively to those who could genuinely afford items with five-figure price tags. They were impeccably dressed in tailored suits, their hairstyles flawless, their manner of speech refined, engaging only with those they deemed worthy of being there. The door opened, and a man entered the boutique. He didn't draw attention with glamorous attire or flashy accessories. A dark t-shirt, slightly worn jeans, and scuffed sneakers. He looked as if he had just wandered in from the street. His movements were calm, unhurried, and without any attempt to impress. This was Keanu Reeves. He walked slowly between the racks, browsing through the collection. He wasn't interested in flashy brand logos or extravagant designs. Instead, he examined the quality of the fabric, running his fingers over the material, as if feeling the story behind each piece. Some customers cast discreet glances his way, either failing to recognize him or simply wondering why someone dressed so casually was walking among suits worth tens of thousands of dollars. Behind the counter, arms crossed, stood a young salesman named Derek. He had been working there for 3 years and considered himself an expert in fashion and style. His suit was impeccable, his shoes polished to a shine, and his hair styled as if he had just stepped out of a salon. He prided himself on instantly identifying the status of each client. And now, he was staring at a man who, in his opinion, did not belong in this boutique. Derek glanced at Keanu with a slight smirk, muttering under his breath, "Looks like he mistook this boutique for a thrift store." He was certain that this stranger couldn't afford anything from the collection and had already decided how he would make him leave. Keanu slowly ran his hand over the fabric of a stylish blazer hanging on a massive wooden rack. He wasn't interested in the designer's name or the flashy price tag with an astronomical figure. He was evaluating the quality of the material, the cut, the feeling under his fingertips, the aspects that truly made an item valuable. His gaze lingered on a deep navy shade, gleaming with an elegant sheen under the boutique's soft lighting. At that moment, as if on cue, Derek approached him. His posture was perfectly straight, chin slightly raised, movements refined. His entire demeanor radiated superiority. He cast a skeptical glance at Keanu, his eyes pausing on the worn-out sneakers and the t-shirt that looked far too simple for a place like this. "This is an exclusive model," he said, in a tone that was overly sweet, yet laced with arrogance. "It costs more than, I assume, your car." For a moment, silence hung in the air. A few customers browsing the racks instinctively turned their attention to the conversation. Some raised an eyebrow slightly, while others continued inspecting the clothes, inching closer, as if sensing something interesting was about to unfold. Keanu, however, remained completely calm. His expression didn't waver, not a single muscle tensed. He simply offered a faint smile and, without taking his eyes off the blazer, asked calmly, "Really? Are there other colors available?" Derek nearly scoffed. His lips curled into a condescending smile, and his voice carried an even greater note of mockery. "Are you sure you want to try it on? We usually cater to clients with serious intentions," he said, emphasizing the last words. He glanced at the other shoppers, as if inviting them into this spectacle. His gesture was openly dismissive, as if to say, "Here's yet another unfortunate soul who wandered in by mistake." One of the customers, a man in an expensive suit, averted his gaze, as if feeling a slight discomfort at the salesman's words. But the others, particularly those accustomed to such scenes in high-end places, merely watched with curiosity, waiting for what would happen next. Derek relished the moment. He was certain that the man in simple jeans would lower his head, mutter something under his breath, and quietly head for the exit. But Keanu didn't even blink. He looked Derek straight in the eyes, calmly, without a trace of anger or indignation. And that gaze, filled with quiet confidence, began to slightly irritate the salesman. He sensed that something was going wrong, though he had yet to realize exactly what. Derek was no longer smiling. His self-assured smirk had vanished, replaced by a flicker of irritation in his gaze. He was used to his words carrying weight, to his condescension working flawlessly. People he deemed unfit for the boutique usually mumbled an apology and quickly left. But this man didn't even blink. He simply stood there, calmly waiting for a response, showing no sign of discomfort. And that only infuriated Derek more. "I'm afraid we don't have your size," he said, folding his arms. "Or perhaps this style just isn't for you. Maybe you'd be better off looking for something more basic? I believe there's a sale going on at the store across the street." Tension filled the air. A few customers who had been casually browsing moments ago were now openly watching the scene. Some pretended to check their phones, though it was obvious they didn't want to miss a second of what was unfolding. Others exchanged hushed whispers. Keanu slowly shifted his gaze from the blazer to Derek. There was no anger or outrage in his eyes, only a quiet, weary curiosity, like someone who had witnessed this same scenario 1,000 times before. "I just want to try on this blazer," he said, his voice steady and calm. "Oh, I have no doubt," Derek replied with a sarcastic smirk. "But you see, this boutique caters to exclusive clients, people who appreciate quality and know what they're buying. You seem a little out of place here." His voice was louder than necessary. This was no longer just a conversation. It was a performance for an audience. He wanted everyone around to hear how he was putting the uninvited guest in his place. A tense silence settled over the boutique. Even the background music seemed to fade. All eyes were on the unfolding scene. Some customers looked openly displeased by Derek's behavior, but no one intervened. They were simply waiting to see what would happen next. And that was when Derek took one final step over the line. With an exaggerated sigh, he stepped around Keanu and gestured toward the door. "Perhaps it's best if you don't waste my time. Or yours. I'm sure you have other places where you can find a more suitable wardrobe." His tone was cold and decisive. He was outright throwing the man out of the store. But Keanu didn't move. His expression remained unchanged. It was as if the entire situation didn't affect him in the slightest. He simply raised an eyebrow, as if wondering whether Derek had truly just done what he had done. And that reaction, or lack of one, was what finally broke Derek's composure. Frustration bubbled inside him. He was used to being in control. But now he was facing someone who couldn't be intimidated by words, and it was driving him insane. "All right, I don't think we have anything else to discuss," Derek snapped, crossing his arms. "You can leave." The air seemed to freeze. Everyone was waiting to see what Keanu would do. In some eyes, there was a flicker of disapproval. Clearly, not everyone approved of Derek's audacity. But still, no one spoke up. And at that exact moment, the door to the adjacent room swung open, and a new guest stepped into the boutique. A man in a flawless gray suit entered the elite boutique. His confident stride left no doubt. This was someone who didn't just work here, but commanded the space. He scanned the room with a single glance, and a flicker of recognition crossed his eyes when he spotted a familiar face. "Keanu!" His voice sliced through the tense atmosphere, making a few people flinch. Several nearby customers instantly turned their heads. Derek froze, as if momentarily losing the ability to speak. His face paled, and the confidence with which he had just been dismissing the unwanted guest evaporated like smoke. "Wow, what a surprise!" The man quickly approached Keanu and shook his hand with a genuine smile. "It's been a while, my friend. How have you been?" Keanu smiled easily, still calm and composed. "Great. Good to see you, Michael. I was just checking out your new collection." Derek blinked. Michael? The name shot through his mind. Wait, that's the senior manager of the boutique. He swallowed hard, realizing that he hadn't just been rude to any random customer. He had insulted someone his boss clearly knew personally. Michael laughed and patted Keanu on the shoulder. "Seriously? Why didn't you tell me you were stopping by? I would have personally shown you the new line. By the way, this collection," he gestured broadly around them, "it only exists because of you. If it weren't for your investment, we wouldn't have been able to afford these artisans." Michael's words hung in the air like a shockwave. Derek felt his knees weaken and his palms grow clammy. The same customers who had been entertained by the humiliation of the stranger were now shifting their gazes toward him. And those gazes were anything but kind. A few clients exchanged astonished glances. A woman in an expensive silk dress bit her lip, suppressing what looked like an amused smile. A businessman in a tailored suit gave Derek a skeptical look, shaking his head. Even the boutique employees, who had previously been indifferent observers, were now watching with unmistakable curiosity. He's an investor," Derek mumbled, barely believing his own words. Michael turned to him, raising an eyebrow. "Yes, Derek. And not just an investor. He's one of the key partners of our brand. Why exactly were you speaking to him in that tone?" Derek felt his voice tremble. I just... His throat was dry, and he had no idea what to say. Keanu looked at him with that same calm, almost sympathetic gaze. There was no anger, no hint of seeking revenge. But that only made Derek feel worse. The boutique fell silent, waiting. The tension in the air was almost tangible. Derek felt the weight of the clients' and employees' stares pressing down on him, forcing him to fully grasp the magnitude of his mistake. This was more than just an awkward situation. This was a professional disaster. And he finally understood. He had trapped himself. Derek stood as if struck by lightning. His mind raced to process what he had just heard. "Keanu Reeves! The Keanu Reeves?" The thought echoed in his head, shattering into 1,000 shards of humiliation. He hadn't just mistreated some random visitor. He had belittled a global legend, one of the most respected celebrities in the world. More than that, he had insulted the very person without whom this boutique might not even exist. The surrounding clients exchanged astonished glances. Some whispered, "Is that really him?" Others discreetly pulled out their phones, trying to snap an unnoticed photo. The atmosphere had shifted dramatically, from indifference and superiority to tense admiration. Keanu remained as calm as he had been from the start. He showed no anger, no desire for retribution. Instead, he simply said, his voice quiet yet firm, "You know, appearances aren't everything. Treating people with respect, that's what truly matters." Derek felt his cheeks burn, his tongue twisted, words stuck in his throat. He knew no excuse would work now. He simply lowered his eyes, barely breathing. Suddenly, another figure appeared at the boutique's entrance. A tall, elegant man in his 50s, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit. His presence caused an immediate reaction. Employees straightened up at once, and Derek nearly stumbled. It was the owner of the boutique. He walked in slowly, first looking at Derek, then letting his gaze settle on Keanu. A broad smile spread across his face. "Keanu?" He opened his arms in a warm gesture. "What a pleasure to see you. Why didn't you let us know you were coming? I would have welcomed you personally." Derek paled even further. If Michael had made him feel uneasy, now he just wanted to disappear. The owner, ignoring Derek's silent panic, continued, "I was just discussing a new marketing strategy with the team, and I think we've just learned an important lesson." His eyes briefly flicked toward Derek. "We built this brand not for arrogance, but for those who truly appreciate style, regardless of what they wear." His words felt like a final verdict. Derek could almost physically feel his career slipping through his fingers. Keanu smiled, but there was no mockery in it, just an easy, calm expression. "I'm glad to hear that," he said, "because style isn't about what you wear, it's about how you treat others." Derek swallowed hard. He knew one thing for certain: he would remember this day forever. The atmosphere in the boutique had changed beyond recognition. Where just minutes ago there had been cold superiority and artificial elitism, now there was respect and even a sense of awed tension. The employees, who had previously watched indifferently, now looked at Keanu Reeves with entirely different eyes, not just as someone to respect, but as someone to admire. The boutique owner, still smiling warmly, stepped forward and gestured for Keanu to move further into the store. "My friend, I insist that you try on a few pieces from our new collection. Since you've supported us, we want you to personally see the results." Keanu gave a simple nod, maintaining his characteristic humility. He carefully took the same blazer he had admired earlier, running his hand over the fabric, feeling its softness. Everyone around remained silent, as if recognizing the significance of the moment. Derek, who had been on the verge of panic just moments ago, stood off to the side, barely breathing. He felt the cold sweat on his back, his hands clasped behind him, his head slightly lowered. He wanted to disappear, to melt away between the racks of expensive clothing. But now, he couldn't just walk away. When Keanu approached the register, the boutique owner graciously offered to gift him the blazer, but Keanu politely declined. "No, I want to buy it," he said with the same calm smile. "A good piece is always worth its price." The owner nodded in respect and subtly signaled to the cashier. Derek, realizing this was his chance to at least partially redeem himself, silently stepped forward to assist with the transaction. There was no more mockery, no condescending gestures. His movements were restrained, even slightly hesitant. He no longer saw just a random stranger before him. He saw the man who had just made him look like a complete fool. As Keanu took his bag and stepped toward the exit, Derek suddenly spoke. "Sir, Mr. Reeves." Keanu paused and turned calmly. Derek hesitated, sighed, and finally summoned the courage to take a step closer. I want to apologize," he said, quietly but sincerely. "I acted terribly, and I realize that now. You could have destroyed me for it, but you didn't." Keanu studied him for a moment. Derek swallowed hard and continued. "I understand my mistake. I judged people by their appearance, and now I see how wrong that was." Is there anything I can do to make up for it? Keanu thought for a moment, then gave a gentle smile. Just don't do it again. And don't judge people by how they look. You never know who you're talking to. Derek slowly nodded. He knew this was a lesson he would never forget. Keanu thanked the boutique owner once more, gave a nod to a few employees, and calmly stepped out through the large glass doors. The Los Angeles sun bathed him in golden light as he walked away, disappearing into the crowd. And inside the boutique, silence lingered, because everyone knew they had just witnessed something far greater than a simple sale of designer clothing. They had witnessed a lesson worth remembering forever. This story serves as a powerful reminder that a person's true worth is not defined by their appearance, status, or expensive clothing. Keanu Reeves, despite his global fame and immense wealth, remains humble and approachable. He does not respond to arrogance with aggression. Instead, he teaches respect through his own actions. Stereotypes can lead us far from the truth. We never truly know who stands before us or what kind of heart lies beneath an unassuming exterior. This story is a lesson for all of us. Do not judge people by their looks. The most valuable qualities are often hidden deeper than what meets the eye. Be sure to share your impressions of the story in the comments and write what conclusions you have drawn after listening to it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I wish you all a good mood and see you in the new video tomorrow.